let's contrast this story then with another widely held name, and that's Disney. Obviously a very different business. And would you say that the impact for Disney, I mean, stock-wise so far seems to be more significant, but whereas maybe there's a delay in handsets, are consumers going to go to a park that is now closed later in the year, or is that trip just canceled for those consumers?
I do think it's a bigger impact with Disney. Disney gets about 35% of its revenue from parks, experiences, and consumer products. Right now, Shanghai Disney, Hong Kong Disney, and Tokyo Disney are all closed. It's unclear when those are going to reopen. Paris Disney is still open, but if cases keep ramping in Europe, I think that's at risk. And I do think people are going to be less likely to go visit parks and big events where there's large crowds. So I think that some of that demand they are going to lose. And I do think there's a question of when the virus does dissipate, how quickly that business ramps up. We like Disney long term because we like what's happening on their streaming service, Disney Plus, which is already at roughly 30 million viewers. But I do think the parks business is going to be tough, and this is a real impact.
And not only do we have the coronavirus impact, but also the exit of CEO Bob Iger, who obviously did a tremendous job as CEO at Disney. A lot of expansion coming, not only on the park side, direct-to-consumer front. So how do you think that shift at the company is going to impact the stock as well? Long-term, still think that there's a lot of hope here under a new CEO's tenure?
So I think it was a lot for investors to absorb in February. You had the coronavirus news, and then you had Bob Iger really retiring to the executive chairman role. He's going to be with Disney for about another 2 years, but he's mostly going to be focusing on the creative side. They've given the CEO job to Bob Chapek, who was originally running parks, and now he's going to obviously be CEO of the whole company. So I do think that's got people a little unnerved. Again, we feel good about the content side of Disney. The question is, how quickly do the parks come back? I think longer term, the stock should be okay, but it could take a while. What we're telling investors right now is we'd like to see the stock base out and start to form the right side of a consolidation pattern before we'd want to get back involved.
Right, want to see that momentum, and it sounds like the long-term story there is still intact. Randy Watts, thank you so much for your insights today. All right, and coming up after the break, I'll be walking you through the technical market action spotted by IBD that warranted caution before the massive sell-off worsened. Back in a minute.